This may be a longer video than you usually watch, but there are officially new leaked photos for the set of Superman, which is coming out 2025, and we've got to talk about it. And the reason why I got to talk about this is because when the first photo got released, there were many people on edge. Some people liked the look, some people hated the look. They didn't know what kind of era it was set in. The background was a bit obscure with the laser beam, but then you also saw David Corenswet for the first time in a Superman suit. In my opinion, it wasn't the best first look. I think it did not capture the essence of Superman, but it still got fans speculating of what it could look like when you have full CGI or post-production completed and you get the official and final look of the suit. The suit itself, you can see it looks a bit baggy, you can see his trunks, and honestly it just didn't capture the feeling of Superman. I remember when the first photo of Man of Steel was released, and this was over a decade ago, where I was keeping up with the latest news. What's the first look? We got the look of Henry Cavill looking like he's just been smashed into a vault, as you can remember in the scene in Smallville, and it looked phenomenal. Like, that was my first look of the Superman suit, Henry Cavill, and it looked beautiful, and I think that's what they did right. It kind of captured the essence of what Man of Steel was, but in this case I still haven't got the proper feel. But now looking at the behind the scene photos, I'm starting to feel this Superman is going to be pretty awesome. So as you can see, they have been changing the streets of Cleveland, so it's kind of good that James Gunn is reading from the source material as you would have expected, and you can see all the rubble, you can see the new Daily Planet, and I'm genuinely surprised about how good the Daily Planet looks. I love Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Okay, I loved his interpretation of Superman and I really enjoyed those films, but the one thing that I could always critique is the Daily Planet. Oh my god, the Daily Planet would look so plain and boring. It's just a massive high-rise building with the word Daily Planet on top, but it looks like in this we are getting the globe officially back in the universe of Superman, and honestly it looks beautiful. You can see that in the signage in the background, and you can also see it in the set videos where they brought in the Daily Globe and put it outside. Most likely it would be attached to a building, but we get that sort of aura that we normally expect to see from the Daily Planet. And the one thing that I realized when looking at the set photos is the background and it's the font of the shops. It looks very retro, and it kind of gives you an expectation of what kind of era it's kind of being set in. But then you saw the introduction of vehicles being added into the destruction sequences. This looks a bit more different. It looks a bit more modern with a hint of retro. So it's kind of like a play on with different types of eras. Now this is one of the funniest things that I've seen. As you know, there have been many newspaper clippings around the set, and you can see one from the Daily Planet, and you can see one from Metropolis Eagle. But the funny thing about the Daily Planet photo, and I think this should have been the first photo of Superman saving a train from crashing, is that it's written by Clark Kent himself. And the funniest thing, if you read it, this man has glazed over himself like no other. And you can see it in this photo, Superman blazed to the front of the runway train in an impressive display of superhuman strength and bravery. Like, bro, I get it. And you get another look of David Corenswet in another newspaper article from Metropolis Eagle, and the headline reads, Superman saves 20 after downtown building collapse. And the interesting element of this is that the subheading mentions that there are no fatalities in what could have been a tragic outcome. And that's interesting because, as we all know, people did not like the final battle of Man of Steel because they said that no way Superman would have allowed so many civilians to get killed. So it looks like they kind of scaled back the deaths of civilians and trying to show who Superman actually is. I don't know if that was set right with the fans, but it's an interesting take. But what's very interesting, if you look in the background of the photo, you can see ice. And let's be honest, most of the Superman films that we've seen in the last decade or two, we haven't seen much use of the ice breath, and that is something which I really want to see in Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman, but we finally got it in Justice League in the final battle against Steppenwolf. So I'm just glad to see in these behind the scenes photos we're going to see more of Superman's abilities, using him to help the people of Metropolis. But yeah, I'm surprised with the behind the scenes. It looks more impressive than I actually thought. I wasn't having much hope for this film when it first got announced, and with the amount of people that are going to be introduced in it, the amount of villains that are going to be in it, it just felt a big convoluted mess. But then I realized James Gunn actually did a pretty good job with Suicide Squad, with the amount of characters that you had in that, and everyone was scaled back enough to have their own sort of development on screen. Because you can also argue this is inspiration from Kingdom Come. We know that Lex Luthor is going to be in this movie. We know the Engineer is going to be in this movie as a villain as well. I'm just hoping for a rich interconnected universe, and that's all I want from this film. So what do you think of the first official set photos of Superman? Are you looking forward to it? Do you like the look of it? Are you still not convinced? Let me know in the comments.